Time now for an in-depth look at the market news this afternoon, and for that I'm joined on the line by Mr. Daniel Yu, Global Strategist at Yuanta Securities. Mr. Yu, good afternoon. Thank you for making time today.
Good afternoon.
Well, stocks on Wall Street overnight broke their winning streak. It seems like investors were taking a bit of a breather with not as much news out this week on the economy. The decline was bigger for tech stocks on the Nasdaq. What's the story in the global markets?
Yes, the U.S. market finished on Monday lowering, with the Dow shedding more than 170 points, and the S&P 500 falling about 0.7%, and Nasdaq was down by about 0.8%, as the investors were digesting the recent data and the comments from the Fed officials. The Fed Governor Waller said that on Sunday, investors are overreacting to the last week's soft inflation data. Still, it's a very high number of 7.7%, and warned that the U.S. central bank still has some more work to do before the ending the interest rate hikes. With that news, people were quite concerned, and therefore the market have corrected. But on the other hand, today the Fed Brainard have said that it will probably be appropriate to slow down the pace of rate increases, and therefore the market seems to be taking it a positive news, and futures market is up quite a bit. Also, the U.S. consumer inflation expectation for the year ahead increased to 5.9% in October after 3 consecutive months of slowdown. Meanwhile, the Chinese stocks listed in U.S. extended gains for the third day, after Joe Biden and Xi Jinping have met for the first time as the top leaders. Clearly, there's some signals that there was possibility of some talk continue to happen, and we saw Chinese market, Shanghai index rising significantly today. Overall, we have to watch and see how things play out as the news coming out where the Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's company, have increased their stake in TSMC and also Louisiana Pacific and Paramount. So overall, there's quite a lot of news coming through, and the liquidity condition seems to be reasonably good, and maybe there are some more room for the market to further rise in the future.
Well, Korea's main index, the KOSPI, was a little shaky today, rising into positive territory a few times, and then once again at the end, battery-related shares were lower. A bigger gain on the tech-heavy KOSDAQ, with the exception of just a few big names, HLB and EcoPro. Tell us about the domestic market.
Yes, Korean market extended its gain. KOSPI was up by 0.23%. The KOSDAQ was the big winner, rising by more than 2.1%. If we see the overall macro numbers, we saw Korean won appreciating down by 19.51 to 13.10 won to dollar, so quite a bit of a continuation of appreciation. The peak level of the Korean won was at 1440 territories. So if we calculate that, that's close to 10% rise of the Korean won against U.S. dollars. Clearly, that has resulted into the positive implications for the market, and market has bottomed below 2,200 KOSPI, now well above 2,400 territories, rising by close to 10%. Now, if you look at some of the news number coming out, the import prices were rising 19.8% because of the currency movement prior. And also, we saw the export price rising by 13.7% because of the won depreciation has affected. Overall, it seems that there's a mixed news coming through, but nevertheless, we think that the won appreciation news is much more positive for the equity market trend. Why is that the case? Because that results into lower interest rate environment. We saw the Korea's 10-year government bond rate declining to 4 weeks low of 4.13%. That is quite a bit of a decline. We did see that number going up to as high as 4.8% previously. So the declining of the interest rate due to won appreciation is quite of a positive news for the equity market trend. And also, even though we are highly dependent on exports. We do have a huge chunk of GDP related to domestic consumption, and we need that number better as the Korean won appreciates. If you look at the import prices, it gets heavily affected by the Korean won depreciation. So now we're seeing Korean won appreciation, and therefore import prices will fall, which will be positive news for the trade surplus numbers or deficit number per se, and also the current account number.
Well, now a quick look at cryptocurrencies. The FTX filing for bankruptcy, of course, Bitcoin below $17,000. Korean financial authorities are urging caution, others too. It's hitting home for investors. Their deposits in these exchanges are not insured like a bank, not at all. At any rate, do you foresee any major impact on the Korean economy from all this?
Well, in terms of the implication, the size of it is not going to be that significant. But nevertheless, quite a people are quite concerned about all this fiasco that's happening. It is still emerging which the counterparties may have lent or re-interacted with either FTX or Alameda, the FTX's sibling company. And what those exact liabilities are, we're quite confused about all of this. And of course, that kind of uncertainty causes the Bitcoin or the Ethereum also prices to fall. Now we're seeing that number going down to 16,000 level for the Bitcoin, and clearly that's quite significant decline from the peak level. But if you look at the overall major cryptocurrencies, it seems to hold steady as investors are wrestling through this kind of uncertainty or the widening of the gloomy picture of the exchange giant of the FTX implosion. But all in all, if you look at the overall cryptocurrency size of the market cap, it is less than 2% of the Nasdaq market capitalization. If we look at the overall market capitalization, it's less than 1%. So we're not too concerned. It's not going to cause any significant deal for the global economy. But as for Korea, yes, if you look at the cryptocurrency trading volume, Korea is quite highly affected. It is quite a big size. And Korea's market capitalization is only about less than 2% of the global market capitalization. So obviously, it's much bigger percentage in terms of GDP numbers. But we think that, though, we already went through the fiasco before. And so therefore, we think that a lot of the regulatory environment has zoomed into these issues, and therefore the implication for the people or the cryptocurrency investors of Korea will probably not be as much affected as before. So therefore, implication the economic growth rate is not going to be that significant. It's probably quite small size relative to the overall trading volume that we're seeing.
All right, the regulatory environment has certainly changed here in Korea the past few years. Well, Mr. Yu, we'll have to leave it there for today. Thank you, as always, for coming on the program. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.